Hi. So it's been a while since I've had any inspiration to kind of put something up on the internet. And today, I guess I've been unaware or under a rock in terms of Wizards of the Coast. A month and a half ago, 2 months ago, had this big kerfuffle. I've referred to it in a Discord chat as a war where influencers, especially, rallied the troops, the people who believe in creative content and creators. And they said, okay, stop, stop and cancel your D&D Beyond subscription. Wizards of the Coast needs to change their minds on the OGL. And after weeks of pressure and considerable hype and public news, especially on the financial side of things and fiscal papers, they capitulated and everybody said, "We won." They didn't win as they had said. We won, and so did you. And that was a couple of weeks earlier when they thought that they got it right, and of course they didn't. Here we are, middle of March almost, and they're brazenly stating and inviting major influencers to come to a summit to look at what will be the future of Wizards of the Coast and of Dungeons and Dragons. I think what really upsets me about this is this sensibility that lobbying is bad and wrong. It's bribery, but it's bribery in a legal way. Now, for American viewers, lobbying is a fact of life and it's appreciated as much as gerrymandering is. It's just the way it's always been. Let's lobby. Let's use our cash in a way that can get people to say, "Hey, this is fine. This is great. I'm being I'm being invited for an all expense paid trip, and isn't that wonderful?" And there's no NDA. It's all open. I'll be able to report freely, and everybody will be happy. And some pundits, influencers have said, "Well, I don't agree with WotC, but I'm going to go anyway because, hey, I couldn't afford it to go on this trip and I'm really happy." What what are your fucking values? What are your principles? Did it just end with the OGL? Do you think that that's winning? The community won a battle, and the battle was for content creators, and they gave, and then they gave even more. And everybody was like, "Yay, look at how generous they are with their forever OGL. Look at all the stuff that they've given to us to play with." But they're buying influencers to go and influence. So whenever we have, well, this is a paid product, I received this as a gift. So there's no neutrality. There's no neutrality. And I really honestly believe that this is wrong, and it's a question of Wizards of the Coast pushing us and the influencer community, which I am not one, to say, well, we're really not all that bad, are we? Come on out. We'll treat you to a good time. For me, this is just a horrible exploitation of free advertising for them. Yeah, they're spending money. Yeah, they're getting people to come out. But the entire community is not going to slag on a company that will ban you and cut you off like that if you say the wrong thing or if you do anything that they don't agree with. As a parallel, today, recently, Gary Lineker, an absolute superstar footballer, soccer player in North America, he is so well known in England. He represented the country, an amazing striker. He represents the country so well on the BBC, which is a publicly funded, and everybody should know of the BBC, a show called Match of the Day. A Match of the Day is massive. And he criticized the right-wing conservative government, which appoints the people who are in charge of the BBC. And he objected to a policy that they have on refugees, a recent policy, an agreement between Macron and Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, and the French Prime Minister, about people who are coming across in boats as refugees seeking asylum in the UK. And their policy, the governmental policy, is get the hell out. We're going to send you back to your home country, or we're going to send you to a third country that's neutral, like Rwanda. What's the comparison? Well, Gary Lineker said, this is atrocious. This is a multimillionaire, a face that everybody knows, everybody sees every Saturday morning. This is important. Or Saturday afternoon. He has had refugees in his home. He cares. He criticized the World Cup in Qatar. But he criticized the BBC he didn't criticize the BBC. He criticized the government, by extension the BBC, by embarrassing them, by saying, this is tantamount to the same type of attitude as happened in 1930s Germany. And it's been real public news in England. So they announced that he's been taken off Match of the Day. I mean, you might have even heard of him. He took off his pants and wore his underwear, boxers, when Leicester, which is it had major investment. I think it was Singaporean investment, or has, but they won. They won the Premiership, basically like winning the Super Bowl, when they were thought to be last place or going down, which happens in European sports, where if you don't perform, you go down, and the money that flows from the rich people doesn't just stay. So, and they just stay up, and all the teams are the same all the time. No, teams are not all the same all the time. So anyway, he's now this public figure off of Match of the Day because he said the wrong thing. Alan Shearer, one of the top scorers, if not the top scorer in English football. Righty. again, an amazing goal scorer. And these are pundits who come on, and it would just like it would be like losing, you know, Tom Brady as somebody who's on all the time, or uh, uh, you know, I mean, it's just unbelievable. He's been shut down, just like influencers will be shut down if they criticize Wizards of the Coast. And don't be fooled, we have a short memory. It's not just the aged who have short memories. We all have short memories when it comes to, oh, yeah, I remember that crisis with Wizards of the Coast. It had something to do with the OGL, but they gave in and everything was fine. That's our summation in our brains. We don't think to ourselves, well, wait, this was also about one D&D and the future of D&D, whether or not it was going to become another fourth edition where everything really wanted to be more like a video game than a tabletop game. And where, if you want to play on the tabletop, it's going to be on a screen in front of you and you're going to pay micropayments. And we're going to take away all the miniatures and miniature creation, because now you're going to have to go through us to create your miniatures, and watch how they too will be able to 3D print and send you an exact copy of your 3D printed model, as other places have out there as well. Your hobby is going to cost you a fortune. Think Warhammer fortune. Those who play Warhammer know exactly what I mean. We cannot, there's no such thing as neutrality if you give in and minimize your values and your principles by taking money from a company that you know is going to gain that money that paid for your trip off the backs of parents, teenagers, children even, who are buying into this, hoping to have this amazing experience with their friends. They're going to take that money that they've earned from selling micropayments and everything else. Oh, I want, you know, this particular hat, or this particular gnome, or this particular sword, or this particular scheme. And they're going to take that profit and they're going to give it to the influencers who are basically doing it for free and saying, hey, Wizards of the Coast is doing great stuff. It's going to be awesome. Is it really? Is this not the long game and not the short game? Is this just... Has the war been won against Wizards of the Coast, or do people just not give a shit anymore? Linda Codega wrote on Twitter, and I looked at this before doing this, and I got so upset that I had to write, or I had to film. Influencer hustle culture has created subsections of the entertainment industry that are causing large companies to divest from traditional outlet and invest in influencers, because it's easy, because they can almost guarantee a win positive reaction. Because you watch people like me, and I'm just speaking to you like the 20 odd people who watch me, and say, how is this right? Am I wrong in thinking that this is just a blatant, in your face, we won? We can do whatever the hell we want, and all these people who complained, look at how hypocritical they are. Because let's face it, if anybody criticized them before and they have the right to say, oh, you criticized us before, but then you came out and you went to this and you accepted our invitation. What a hypocrite you are. And then you look bad. And then your subscribe base goes somewhere else. It's supper time. Look, I understand, and this is the double-edged sword, right? You know, Linda says that her Koteku colleagues are on a blacklist. And I think she says, no, nobody is neutral ever. It's literally impossible to exist without bias. Everyone going to this event and talking about it publicly is leveraging that invite for clout, regardless of their intention. Whether you're a supporter of Free League or Wizards of the Coast or independent publishers like those who do Into the Odd. Well, that's not an independent publisher, but, well, here. You know, like a White Hack. Okay? If you're, you know, kind of looking at these type of people or Dodeca, an individual doing a great game with nice little cardboard insert, which I received for free. Paid for the PDF. Said, hey, can I have a copy? It's free. That means that I'm influencing you. Because there's a trust that we develop. Because you say, oh, well, I trust this guy. Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of followers. It's influence peddling. I'm grateful, but I know the individual. Kinda. Hypocrisy, values, principles. This medium is so intimate. Just like podcasting, it's intimate. I'll never forget Matt Colville saying, I'm not your friend. And I remember feeling deflated. I remember thinking, why the hell am I deflated? But he's not. But we feel that. We have to be really careful of this media. Because this is bad. You need to be critically thinking about what you're doing on the internet. And I guess that's my ultimate message is be careful who you're watching and what you're doing, because there is an influence. Ultimately, what does this mean? I don't know. But we're going to find out sooner or later what 1D&D is truly about, and we're going to understand very soon what this media platform of YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and everything else, what the impact really is down the line, especially for advertisers. Because this is free advertising for people. And there's consequences to your soul.